Good day! In this video, we will be talking about evaluation criteria in qualitative perspectives. Now, evaluation of qualitative research typically focuses on criteria that assess rigor, authenticity, and depth of the study. The key concepts that we have to keep in mind are credibility, transferability, confirmability, dependability, and authenticity. When we say credibility, this is the truth value of the findings. Transferability is the extent to which findings can apply to other contexts or populations. Dependability is the coherence between methods and findings, and transparency and auditable research process. Confirmability would be the degree to which the findings can be corroborated by others. And authenticity, it is the fair representation of different perspectives within the data. The evaluation criteria for narrative research, phenomenological research, grounded theory, and ethnographic and case study research. We will talk about narrative research evaluation criteria first. Voice and authenticity. It ensures the participant's voice remains central. The narrative should reflect the person's perspectives and language, coherence, and consistency. It is to evaluate whether the narrative presents a clear, consistent storyline that accurately represents the participants' experiences. Richness and depth. It assesses the depth of the narrative. Does it capture not just events but also emotions, thoughts, and meanings associated with the experience? Next is reflexibility. It evaluates how the researcher's own biases, perspectives, and experiences influence the interpretation of the narrative. Reflexive analysis helps ensure the authenticity of the findings. Now let's have the evaluation criteria for phenomenological research. Phenomenological research is the understanding the essence of lived experiences concerning a specific phenomenon, often from multiple participants' perspectives. The evaluation standards for this research first is bracketing, which evaluates how well the researcher has set aside their own assumptions, preconceptions, and biases about the phenomenon to focus purely on the participants' experiences. Thick description. It looks for a rich, detailed description of the experiences to fully convey the depth of the participants' perceptions. The essence of the experience assess whether the study captures the essence or core meanings of the participants' experiences. Validation of findings. It ensures that the researcher has sought out ways to validate the findings, such as through member checking, like returning the findings to participants for confirmation, or peer debriefing. The third one would be grounded theory research. Grounded theory research is focused on developing theories grounded in empirical data. The researcher collects data, codes it, and then uses constant comparative methods to develop a theory that explains the phenomenon under study. The evaluation standards for this research first is conceptual clarity. Conceptual clarity, it assesses whether the grounded theory provides a clear conceptual framework that explains the phenomena being studied. For example, the researcher might define formative assessment as any assessment activity that provides feedback to students and teachers to improve learning and teaching during the instructional process, and consistently refer back to this definition during interviews with teachers. This clarity helps ensure the teachers' experiences are accurately represented in the study and avoids misinterpretation of the concept. Theoretical sensitivity evaluates whether the researcher demonstrates sensitive data and is able to identify and develop concepts that reflect the underlying patterns. So the researcher should be able to identify key themes and concepts that emerge from the data rather than imposing pre-existing theories. Workability. Workability, it assesses whether the grounded theory can explain, predict, and possibly be used in practical applications and guide further research. For example, the researcher might discover that while formative assessment is a rich and important topic, teachers in the study are overwhelmed with standardized testing requirements, which limits the time they dedicate to reflective formative assessment. And researchers may adjust the study design to focus on how formative assessment is integrated with more structured, mandated assessments. This adaptation ensures that the study remains workable in real classroom settings, reflecting the constraints teachers face while still exploring the primary research question. Fit. Fit checks whether the theory fits the data. That is, does it adequately represent the phenomena being studied? Does the theory hold true for various contexts and cases in the research? For example, if the study's goal is to understand teachers' use formative assessments to inform their teaching practices, the researcher might choose in-depth interviews, classroom observations, and document analysis such as lesson plans or student feedback forms. These methods would fit well with the goal of understanding the nuances of teachers' lived experiences with formative assessment and how it informs their practice. The chosen method should allow the researcher to gather rich, detailed data that fits the theoretical framework of assessment for learning. Saturation. Saturation evaluates whether data collection continued until saturation was reached, meaning no new insights are emerging and the categories and theory are well developed. For example, the researcher begins by interviewing a small group of middle school teachers about their use of formative assessment, analyzing the data as they go. Over time, as more interviews are conducted and classroom observations are analyzed, the same themes, for example, the importance of feedback, challenges with the time management, continue to emerge. At a certain point, additional interviews no longer provide new themes or insights. This is the point where saturation is reached. Ethnographic research. When we say ethnographic research, it involves immersing oneself in a specific cultural or social setting to study behaviors, beliefs, practices, and interactions of individuals within that setting. Evaluation criteria for this research are reflexivity and positionality. This means the researcher's awareness of their own personality. Reflexivity helps ensure the findings are as unbiased and comprehensive as possible. Participant observation evaluates the researcher's use of participant observation, which is crucial for ethnographic research. Rich, thick description. Evaluate whether the research provides a rich, detailed description of the setting, events, and participants. Cultural contextualization. Assess how well the researcher has understood and presented the cultural context of the group being studied. The fifth evaluation criteria would be for case study research. The criteria would be theoretical framing. It evaluates whether the case study is framed within an appropriate theoretical context or framework. This helps guide the analysis and interpretation of the case. The research should make use of relevant theories to inform the understanding of the case. For example, the researcher would draw on constructivist and sociocultural theories to examine how students learn through collaboration and hands-on experiences in project-based learning. Next would be triangulation. It evaluates whether the researcher has used multiple sources or methods of data collection. For example, interviews, observations, document analysis to strengthen the findings. It enhances the credibility of case study research. Contextualization assesses whether the researcher has appropriately contextualized the case within its broader social, cultural, or historical setting. In-depth analysis evaluate the depth of the case study, assessing whether it provides a thorough, detailed explanation of the case or cases. So this would be the differences and the comparison between the standard evaluation for the five approaches. As a summary of what we discussed, narrative research emphasizes the authenticity and coherence of personal stories and ensures participants' voice remains central. In phenomenological research, it focuses on capturing the essence of lived experiences, requiring bracketing to minimize researcher biases and thick descriptions for rich insights. For the grounded theory research, it is centered on theory development grounded in data, with case standards focused on theoretical sensitivity, conceptual clarity, and saturation of data. Ethnographic research, on the other hand, is concerned with understanding the cultural context of the group under study through immersion, with emphasis on participant observation, reflexibility, and rich, thick descriptions of cultural practices. The case study research focuses on providing detailed, contextualized, and multifaceted understanding of a single case with triangulation and theoretical framing as key evaluation criteria. So I think that would be all for the evaluation criteria for the qualitative perspectives. And thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye bye.